Hi guys, I'm Matt with Mr. Matt Woodworks, and today we're talking about pizza peels.
Is your pizza spatula too small for even the smallest pizzas? Is it impossible to peel your pizzas into an oven? Then you need Mr. Matt's 2-in-1 pizza peel and spatula. Guaranteed dispatch.
Let's talk about comfort zones. More specifically, stepping out of them. There's a transition if I've ever heard one. So many of life's great experiences and joys are just outside your comfort zone. And I don't mean way outside. I'm saying imagine your comfort zone was an actual fence. Something amazing could be leaning against the fence on the other side, and all you have to do is simply reach half an arm over to grab it and check it out. My woodworking adventure or journey, however you want to look at it, has been nothing but constant steps outside of my comfort zone. Some steps were easier to take than others, some experiences were closer to that comfort zone fence than others, but who knows where I'd be or what I'd be doing without those steps and those challenges. I'd say most of the projects I've been commissioned to do have been what we'll call comfort zone stretchers. You can go back through my videos and see me taking my first swing at most things I've tried. And there are countless projects that never got filmed simply because I was too wrapped up in my head to think that struggling through something was worth the watch. In fact, one of my more recent builds was a whiskey barrel tabletop, and I made a whole video talking about how I didn't even make a video of that process. That's like anti-meta or something. Anyway, what does any of that have to do with what you are seeing me build here? And in case you came across this video without seeing a title or a thumbnail, I'm making a pizza peel. But don't go clicking away yet. This pizza peel is ginormous and worth the wait. I've built barn doors, beds, headboards, mini barns, tables, tons of CNC'd signs, cutting boards, and the list goes on. So why is a pizza peel a comfort zone stretcher? Like I said, this thing is ginormous. Additionally, all the steps you see me executing were all out of my comfort zone starting out and at various points along the way. There was a time where even trying to figure out what kind of wood I wanted to use was a big head scratcher and anxiety inducer. The choice was usually between 2x4s or 1x4s or big box store or pallet wood. The idea of going to a hardwood dealer to pick out what I wanted or needed was very intimidating. Not to mention learning how to calculate board feet. You only make the mistake of thinking that measuring in board feet is a linear measurement once before your total is calculated and a price is given to you at checkout. Yikes. Now once that issue was annexed into my comfort zone, milling those hardwoods into flat usable pieces became the next challenge. Oh, and then comes reducing waste by resawing. All steps that took a long time to finesse and instill a sense of confidence. For the longest time, jigs were scary. What jig? Any jig, all the jigs. I could spend as much time trying to figure a way to do something without making a jig than it would have taken for me just to make the jig I needed to get those repeating cuts going. I was like a toddler at a park scared to go down the slide for the first time. And just like that slide, with woodworking, once I finally slid down, pushed or otherwise, I realized it wasn't so bad and actually kind of fun. I'm still somewhere in the middle with hand planes and hand tools in general. I like what they do, but something about getting them set up correctly or sharpening still has me on edge. No pun intended. Maybe a little intended. I'm only mentioning this so later I can watch this back and think how silly I was for ever giving pause to these simple tools and that simple process. Kind of like I was scared of hardwood. Now I say, pine and all of its blade gumming sap and tar. I'd like to interrupt all of the experience and philosophical talk for a second and actually tell you a little bit about what you see here and what I'm doing. Some of the boards have some small checks in the ends. This could be a problem depending how I orient the boards, but through my experience, I knew there will be waste and I strategically oriented the boards so these cracks would hit the waste pile. Proper planning prevents something or other. Another good technique when straightening the sides is to mark the face of the board, whether it should be faced in or out when going across your joiner. Often our tools can be off by fractions of a degree, which will compound over large areas creating bows or curves. By alternating the way the board runs along the fence of the joiner, it won't matter how far off 90 that I am. The opposing angles make up the difference, giving me a more or less perfect 90. I have a feeling I'll need to make another video just about this sometime soon so it can be illustrated a little bit clearer. If that's something you're interested in seeing, leave me a comment down below. Also, when these boards came together, there was a small bow along the side of one of the pieces preventing a tight, straight joint. Despite our best efforts, sometimes things just happen. This used to trip me up, but instead of doing it what we'll call the right way, I would tighten those clamps down and just hope for the best. But now we are doing things the right way. So to fix this, all you gotta do is use a straight edge to determine which side is bowed and creating the gaps, and then run the straight side of that board, if you have one, along the fence of your table saw to parallel up the curved side. Then, for good measure, I go back to the joiner and run it through oriented the right way, either in or out, to make sure that it will meet with its neighboring board perfectly at whatever minuscule angle is off from 90 degrees. Make sense? So yeah, this pizza peel. The idea of making a pizza peel is really not too crazy. It's basically a cutting board with a long middle board to serve as a handle. But again, this one had to be ginormous. It had to measure around 37 inches square with a handle that extended roughly another 2 feet. So basically as wide as a table, but it had to be light enough to support itself with a thin 2-inch handle. It had to be flat, and it needed a tapered front edge to easily slide under the pies it was going to transport in and out of a large pizza oven.
A tapered front edge? That sounds a little scary. Foreshadowing.
Back to the build for a bit. When gluing up something this big, I like to use dominoes. The floating tenons are not really there for strength, but more for keeping the boards flat and flush when they're glued up. Without these mechanical stops in place, these joints have the potential to slip and slide all over, making the final sanding process a nightmare. I even used this giant gear right here in the middle to prevent the board from bowing up in the middle when it was under clamped pressure. With any project, once the crude blank or shape is made, the tedious stuff begins. Marking, trimming, more trimming. Throw some things. Admire your hard work. Sanding, and after that some more shaping and sanding. And then don't forget to sand. And then that final hurdle, the step you've been putting off even thinking about, the comfort zone expander. This tapered front edge was that part for me. As I mentioned earlier, jigs used to creep me out, but now I like them. The problem was this thing was too big for a jig, so I would have to resort to the next scariest thing. Hand tools. Dun dun dun. Little secret, I built one of these before, so all of this scary testing was done on that one. A combo of hand planes and sanding was the easiest approach for something this size, and then after a little more shaping and hand sanding to break those edges, this thing was looking pretty sweet, and it came out pretty nice. Now, every woodworking skill or insecurity I previously had were all coming together to make something so stupidly huge. Would this have terrified me if someone asked me to do it back when I was starting out? Absolutely. And I may have even tried talking myself out of trying. But by pushing the limits of that comfort zone, one fence post at a time, I was able to approach this build with confidence, knowing that when broken down into its smallest steps, these were all slides I've plunged down before. My only regret is that I didn't get any footage of this thing in use at the pizza shop, so as a consolation, here's some footage of me playing in my shop and enjoying a beautiful sunny day frolicking on a trampoline. Alright guys, I appreciate you hanging out all the way to the end. If you liked what you saw and want to see more of it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.